Although knowledge surrounding supernatural abilities is mostly unknown, the protagonist finds himself blessed with the perfect ability. The newfound ability, abuses it to the max until he is eventually caught by a girl. She gives him two options and he is forced to take on a new life filled with the supernatural. Episode 1. Welcome to Charlotte, where we are introduced to a man thinking about how fabulous he is. Tells us that he has always felt different from everyone else. One time when he was thinking about someone nearby, he ended up taking over their body for 5 seconds. Found out that he usually wakes up with an injury of some sorts when he uses his ability, but often use it to control people and make them fight within. Another use of his ability would be taking control of a smart person in the class and copying their scores. Doing this method, our protagonist, Yu Otosaka, was able to achieve the top grades for his class. In order to prepare for his college's exam, Yu would sneak into cram schools and find the smartest people. Thanks to doing his research and learning who is smart and who's not, Yu was able to get the top scores for his high school. Being the top scorer, he is asked to deliver the opening speech for his high school. During this, a girl takes notice of his looks and asks her friend if she thinks he is cute. Yu, being the most popular guy in his school, is frequently asked out by girls. Today is one of those days. Yu tells the girl that he has no time for a relationship with all the studying he has to do. In reality, he just needed an excuse to say no to a normal girl like her. Yu reveals that his eyes are set on the beauty of the school Yumi. He stalks her, hoping to find some kind of way to make contact. After seeing an incoming truck, Yu thinks fast, taking control of various people and guiding the truck into Yumi. Yu runs over to save her and succeeds in his plan. After noticing Yumi's injured leg, he offers to walk her to the infirmary. After taking her there, Yumi asks Yu if she can have his phone number. Yu tries to play it smooth, offering to be friends first, and Yumi's friend takes the hint. The friend runs away and Yu decides to treat Yumi to some pancakes. Yu tries the pancakes and is not disappointed, calling them the best pancakes he's ever had. Yumi also expresses how much she enjoys the pancakes. Finish their food and Yumi asks Yu if she can hang out with him again. He agrees, but when he does notice something in the corner of his eye. The following day, Yu laughs to himself after receiving a text from Yumi asking him out again. Yu is interrupted by the speaker calling his name, asking him to report to the student council room. He goes to the student council room and a man is waiting for him, asking him to retake his entry exams. Before we continue, let's take a moment to answer the question of the day. If you had his ability, would you abuse it as much as he did? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out in the next video. Now back to the recap. Yu tries to get out of taking the exam, but the student council president tells him he will be expelled if he doesn't answer correctly. Yu, with no other option, takes control of the student council's body, looks at the answer sheet he's supposedly holding. After inspecting the paper, he realizes he has been tricked, and it's a magazine instead of the answers. Suddenly, a girl who introduces herself as Tomori, student council president of another school, tells him she suspects him of having an ability. Yu, unsure how she figured him out, tells her it's a sleeping disorder, nothing more. Tomori then pulls out a medical record revealing he has no such impairment. Yu runs out from the school and finds Yumi waiting for him. Yu attempts to get her to run with him, but he just ends up throwing her down. Yu continues to run as fast as he can until one of his perpetrators flies into a store nearby. As Yu continues to run, explosions continue happening around him. Yu eventually arrives at a bridge, but stops when he sees the man following him dash towards him in an instant. The man picks him up and throws him into the lake, then proceeds to drown him across the surface of the lake. Yu asks the man what his ability is for him to perform such feats, and the man explains it's teleportation. Although he has a unique ability, he is unable to control it properly. Tomori then appears and tells Yu that the reason for chasing him is to get him to transfer schools. Tells him that if the government finds he has an ability, they will do tests on him, so he needs to transfer. Still doesn't want to comply, so he attempts to run. Tomori turns invisible and punches Yu. He reveals her ability is invisibility, but only towards one person. Tomori tells Yu that not only will he transfer schools, he will join the student council as well. Yu is finally let off the hook, and he heads home. Upon arrival, Yu is greeted by his energetic sister, who is thrilled to learn of their transfer. Yu asks his sister Ayumi why she isn't sad. She'll have to move away from her friends. Ayumi assures her brother that she can keep in contact via smartphone with her friends. Yu sits down for dinner and is greeted by a pizza sauce omelet his sister prepared. After tasting it, he realizes it's super sweet. He asks his sister where she got the recipe. Ayumi tells him it's from their mom's old textbook. Yu tells Ayumi that their mother is a bad person, having left them. Ayumi tells her brother that she is still family. They must love her either way. Ayumi then says sometimes she feels like she has more family aside aside from just you. Two of them continue to talk until they head to sleep, preparing to move into the new room the next day. They arrive at their new place and are helped move boxes in by movers. Ayumi attempts to help them, but Yu tells her she is just getting in the way. Hoping to keep his girl, Yu meets with Yumi and tells her what happened, to some extent, leaving out the ability part. He tells her he has to transfer schools, but is unable to tell her why. Yumi tells him she's grateful to him for saving her. They aren't dating yet, so she won't chase him to his new school. Yumi tells Yu it would be best if they went their separate ways and don't involve themselves any further. Yu, shocked to be dumped, is approached in his room by Tamori, the man who is chasing him. The man introduces himself as Takajo, a fellow member of the student council. Takajo offers to help, and Ayumi is thrilled to have guests over. They begin unpacking, and Yu looks at the special package from his uncle. Upon inspecting it, finds out it is filled to the brim with ramen. On the other hand, Mori is keeping Ayumi busy turning invisible and calling it a magic trick. They get everything unpacked. Tamori and Takajo take their leave. Yumi ends up making the omelet for dinner again as they watch an idol perform on the TV. They finish dinner and talk about their new school. Ayumi specifically is very excited. That night, Yu has a dream where he is walking down a road alongside his sister and an unknown man. Episode 2. Yu gets ready for the next day and is given an omelet pizza sauce bento for lunch by Ayumi. Tamori greets Yu with her camera the second he arrives inside the school. As they walk to the student council room, Tamori explains to Yu that not everyone in the school has an ability, but most do. She tells Yu that the student council's job is to hunt down other ability users and get them to enroll in the school. Yu arrives at his class and makes a good impression on the girls, but is stunned to learn the other student council members are in his class. Yu opens up his lunch and sees the omelet, but before he can eat it, Tokayo invites him to the cafe. Yu observes that there is a long line for the sandwiches, asking how they are going to get one. Tokayo tells him to watch this as he teleports forward, making sandwiches and dropping the change. In the process, he breaks some windows and flips tables, but he gets the job done. Yu notices him covered in glass and asks if he is okay, to which Tokayo explains he wears armor. They sit down for lunch and eat their sandwiches until Yu notices Tamori sitting alone. He asks Tokayo why she doesn't have any friends, and he explains. With an ability to turn invisible to one person, people often stay away from her, knowing she could be using her ability. Tamori interrupts their conversation, telling them they need to go to the student council room. Yu waits for something to happen until a drenched man walks in, reveals the next student's ability along with their location. Yu questions the authenticity of the information, goes along with the other members to investigate the school. Mori runs around asking people stuff while Yu looks for the cutest girl. Mori eventually finds a lead and rushes over to ask for Yu's help. They run after the guy, and Yu takes control of him, dumping his belongings in the process. Tamori inspects his bag and finds pictures of various girls without clothes on. Tamori questions the man on how he got the pictures, and he eventually folds under the pressure. The group investigates the school until they arrive at the Archer Club, where Udo, the ability user, is. Mori shows him the photos and exposes him, but he plays dumb. She tells him all the evidence she has, and Udo reveals the truth. He tells Tamori that his parents are sick, has to sell the photos to provide for them. Udo then prints a photo of Tamori. He is taken over by Yu. Yu makes him throw the photo back to Tamori, and this angers Udo. Shoots an arrow at Tamori, but is blocked by Takajo's teleportation. Tamori tells Udo that his ability will disappear after adolescence, that he needs to find a new way to make money. He agrees, and the student council members head back to their school. On the way, Yu asks Tamori what happened to her brother and why she is so passionate about helping others. He tells him they can go visit him. He can see for himself. On the way, Tamori buys a steamy lunch and eats it on the train, gaining onlookers. They switch to a bus, and Tamori reveals when she first learned of her brother's ability. She tells the story of when she first watched him use his ability as a child. Her brother had been big into music and wanted to make his own rock band. Eventually, Tamori's mother tells them that she is enrolling them in a new school because of their financial situation. Tamori's brother protested against them going to the school, but were forced to go eventually. She reveals that she would constantly be tested on different things and never got to see her brother. Tamori explains that while she was busy at school, the school her brother supposedly went to was a research facility. With the ability to control airwaves, Tamori's brother was experimented on daily, eventually bringing him to a state of madness. Eventually, Tamori realizes that one day they would try and do the same to her, so she runs away. They arrive at the hospital. Tamori shows Yu to her brother's room. Open the door and are greeted by her brother tearing up a pillow. Tamori explains that in his head he's playing a melody, but to Yu he just looks crazy. Nurse runs in and gives him his medicine, calming him down. Tamori takes them on a walk, revealing a beautiful lake at the end of the trail. Yu asks Tamori why ability users aren't used to help the world instead of taken advantage of. Tamori explains that with such a limited number, it's impossible to find peace. They head back, and Yu is greeted by his sister with her dinner special. Yu realizes that if he has an ability, his sister probably does as well, making him take his job at the student council more seriously. Oyumi serves Yu his dinner, and he is thrilled to find out it's something different than the usual omelet. After taking a bite, she realizes she filled it with the pizza sauce, making it super sweet. Episode 3. Next morning before school, Yu is offered an omelet by Ayumi, and he attempts to refuse it, but is unsuccessful. He inspects it and embarrassingly smears around the message written by his sister. Yu arrives at his classroom and is greeted by Takajo, telling him today he will get a new lunch special. Yu watches as Takajo destroys part of the room, but achieves a splendid lunch for them, wiping off the blood after using his ability. Takajo tells Yu that the helper is coming again to reveal a new location. Covered in water again, the helper arrives and tells them this time the ability is channeling. Tamori explains that the ability allows the user to bring back the dead to possess them. The helper reveals the possessed person has an additional ability, pyrokinesis. They inspect the map, decide to head to the location marked. They arrive at a back alleyway instead of a school this time. Tamori realizes whoever is here is being chased, inspects a moved box and fresh footprints until they eventually arrive at a woman smoking a cigarette. The woman reveals that a girl named Yusa was being chased for a movie scene. Kayo shows great interest in Yusa, revealing she is a big-name idol. Takajo explains all the facts about Yusa, showing he is a big-time fan of hers. Having this information, Yu proposes that they simply call Yusa's agency. While talking about this, Tamori notices a man watching over them, chase and eventually take him down, giving them a chance to question him. Tamori jams her foot into him and tries to force all the information out of him. Eventually reveals that he is looking for Yusa after being ordered to by someone. Tamori tries to get more information out of him but is unsuccessful. They send him away in an ambulance and are approached by a man as they watch him go away. They ask if he knows Yusa, to which he reveals he does. Tamori tells him they suspect her of being an ability user, but he doesn't believe them. Tamori shows him her ability and thus gains her trust. The man leads them into a club, eventually arriving at Yusa's location. Kajo gets super excited and rushes to her side, showing his interest. The men reveal that they are talking to Misa and not Yusa. Tamori asks him to explain, and he tells her Misa, the one with the channeling ability, is able to switch with Yusa, the one with the pyrokinesis ability. Tamori asks Misa to explain her ability, and she does, telling Tamori when he switches with Yusa, it feels like she is asleep. Tamori asks Misa to switch out with Yusa, and she agrees to. After switching out, Misa reveals that she is a madman, kicking her helpers and setting the building afire. After realizing she is burning some marshmallows, decides to cancel out her ability. Yu realizes that she is another crazy person like Takajo. Tamori eventually moves on to ask her why she is being chased by people. One of the grunts reveals that Misa accidentally took the smartphone belonging to a company that contains sensitive information. Tamori proposes giving it back but realizes it's too late. Tamori offers instead to help her and Misa agrees. Misa gives control back to Yusa and they begin the operation of their plan. Start with powering on the cell phone and calling in the people who want the phone back. Yusa approaches the men and asks why they are chasing her. The man tells her to give the phone back now or else, causing Yusa to switch with Misa. Misa then decides to burn all the men, forcing them to give up on taking the phone. Misa displays her power by utilizing the different abilities of the student council members, giving the impression she has more than one. Startles the man and he runs away after getting the phone back from Misa. Misa, having resolved their issue, thanks Tamori for all of her help. Tamori tells her that in exchange for her help, needs to join the student council at their school now. The grunts protest, but Misa accepts, knowing it's the best way to protect Yusa. One of the grunts reveals that he has been in love with Misa. He confesses his feelings to Misa, tells her how bad he has felt since she died. Misa tells him that she has already passed and is just living in Yusa's body, urging him to live a fulfilled life. Misa says goodbye to her grunts and switches back to Yusa. After finishing his student council work, Yu arrives home to be greeted by his sister. As usual, Ayumi prepares dinner, this time spaghetti filled with her pizza sauce. After finishing dinner, Ayumi rushes over to the TV to watch Yusa perform her new single. Yu tells her that tomorrow Yusa will transfer to his school and she might get a chance to meet her. Episode 4. The next morning, Yu wakes up to his usual pizza sauce-filled breakfast. He tries it and is appalled by how sweet the French toast is after being mixed with the sauce. Yu forces himself to eat it all, knowing his sister would be sad if he doesn't. After learning of their new classmate, Yu's class becomes thrilled. Yusa is introduced as a new member of the class, and the men cause an uproar. Yusa announces that she will miss a lot of school because of her work, but she wishes to have a great school life with her classmates. Takayo initiates a chant of Yusa's name, and the other classmates join in. After class, a group of students surround Yusa and spam ask her questions, to become friendly with her. Some of the students fight. Yusa resolves the issue by casting one of her spells. Takayo informs Yu that Yusa is a character in the TV series that casts a new magic spell every episode. Tomori approaches the student council members and guides them to their club room. Per usual, the helper arrives, drenched head to toe, surprising Yusa. The closer he approaches, the more scared Yusa becomes, until he eventually reveals the next student. He tells them it's telekinesis and reveals the location of the ability user. Tomori realizes it's at a certain academy and shows them a sports report from that academy. They look at it and see a pitcher with a perfect record, and after observing his skills, they realize his pitch is different from his grip. Tomori explains to throw different balls. Change your grip, however this pitcher is able to change it no matter the grip. Tomori tells them they need to move now, hoping to find the player before they play in a big tournament. They arrive at the baseball field and start questioning the pitcher about his pitching. After being confronted, the pitcher denies it, saying he has no clue what they are talking about. Tomori uses her usual method of convincing them once they become an adult, their powers will disappear. Still denies it, but is forced to acknowledge they know when Tomori uses her ability. Misa joins in, showing her power of pyrokinesis to him. Pitcher still refuses to accept it, agrees when Tomori proposes a game between their schools. Yu asks Tomori which member of their baseball team has an ability, but she alerts him none of them do. Tomori tells Yu that they will be the ones with abilities participating in the game. They line up and eventually start the game off weak. Tomori's pitcher overhears her calling him trash, and he runs over asking her to apologize. Tomori instead tells Yusa to cast a magic spell on him, resolving the issue. After having their turn, the pitcher in question begins his turn, using telekinesis on the swingers. Later on, one of the hitters slams the ball out, but it is recovered by Misa. Continue to play the game, either side showing weakness, till it is the final inning. Mori tells Yu to start using his batter to make the batters miss their hits, forcing strikes every turn. Yu continues to use his ability on the batter, making him fall to his knees each time. Realizing the situation, one of the pitcher's teammates steals home base, putting them in the lead. Tomori then suggests Takayo to bunt the ball and teleport to first base. Takayo does just that, rushing to the base at incredible pace. Tomori goes next, bunting the ball and giving the players a chance at going to the next bases. Yu bats next, misses every time, being unable to deal with the pitcher's throws. Yu eventually forces the pitcher to use his ability, giving him an impossible throw to hit. Misses, but so does the catcher, giving Misa a chance to run to the next base. She secures the point. This ends the game, giving Tomori's team the win. They approach the pitcher after the game and tell him not to use his ability again, having defeated him. Pitcher explains that his pitch may not be real, the catcher's strength is. Tells them he only wanted to put his best friend in the spotlight, give him a chance to be seen by colleges. Tomori convinces him not to use his ability, and he walks away thinking it's over. Tomori, however, tells Yu to possess him for some reason, hoping to figure something out. They finish their mission. Yu heads home, hoping not to be greeted by pizza sauce for dinner. Unlike what he wished, his sister prepared another pizza sauce-filled dish. Episode 5. Although Yusa has been in the school for a bit, she's still bombarded by people asking her questions. Yu and Takajo notice this, but their attention is switched over when they see Tomori approached by a group of girls, drag her off to an alleyway on the school grounds and beat her up. Yu watches from the side instead of helping and goes to ask her if she's okay once it's over. Tomori tells him to leave her alone, having witnessed him watch her. She tells him the helper will come again soon, so they need to leave. He arrives and alerts them that the ability is flying and their location is deep within the forest. Tomori shows them a magazine containing an image of the man flying. She tells them that the ability user is most likely practicing their skills in the forest. Tomori alerts them they will be going on a camping trip, taking out the ability user. Tomori and Yu head to the store, stocking up on groceries, making them look like a couple. Yusa notices how close they are and asks Takayo if they are dating each other. Takajo explains that they aren't. He is overjoyed by the idea of being alone with Yusa. They take a taxi to the forest and walk into it until they eventually arrive at the location where the ability user was spotted. Yu and Takajo put up a tent, but are forced to stop when Yu almost fall into the well. Yu, being a good big brother, calls his sister to tell her he won't be able to make it home for dinner. Yu is excited to finally eat something other than his usual pizza sauce-filled dinner. Everyone digs into their food, but stop when Yu asks Yusa what her relationship with her sister is. Yusa tells the group that Misa was always a tomboy and would always be there to help her when he needed it. Later that night, Takajo and Yusa play games on a console and get really excited about it. Doesn't want to get in the middle of their bonding, so he decides to look for Tomori. He finds her sitting atop a cliff and asks if he can listen to the same music she is listening to. He puts the headphones in and instantly is impressed, making him think he is in an open field. He tells this to Tomori, and she tells him she felt the same thing when she first listened to the track. Yu looks at her smile and notices she is actually pretty cute. They regroup and decide to watch the sky in pairs overnight, hoping to never miss a chance at them. Tomori and Yusa take their turn, then wake up Yu from another dream involving that mystery person. The next day, they fish for breakfast, hoping to draw the attention of the ability user. Wonders what Tamori's plan is. I'm just playing around and enjoying it like a vacation. Decide to camp by the river that night and set up a bath. Kajo tries to bathe right after Yusa, but is denied by Tamori. Later that night, Yu watches Takajo take a dip in the water and notices he is shredded. Yu then asks Takajo how long their abilities will last. Kajo informs him around age 18, start to lose control. Yu decides to ask Tamori what their plan is. During school the next day, Tamori tells them they just need to continue waiting, informing them she thinks something will change tomorrow. The next day when they're cooking breakfast, a man approaches them asking what they are doing in the woods. Tells them they need to leave the woods and threatens to call the police. Tamori alerts him that they are on private property. Both of them will be detained. She also reveals that she knows he is the man who is flying. Like most people, he denies it, as he has no clue what they are talking about. Tamori then tells him she has video evidence of it, shows him the camera. The ability user instantly rushes towards them, giving Tamori even more evidence. Rushes towards Tamori and takes her camera, flies away in the process. Yu acts quick and takes over his body, but begins falling from a high distance. Yu becomes able to control the ability, leaving the ability user with only a small scratch. Tamori approaches the man and explains the dangers of using his ability. Tells him he would be better off never using his ability again. The man tells them he had a dream of being a Hollywood stuntman, thinking he was the only one with an ability. He agrees to Tamori's request, never use the ability again, making it another successful mission. Yu arrives home and as usual is greeted by his sister's cooking. She tells Yu that they ran out of pizza sauce, so she was forced to make an udon. Yumi tells Yu that she tried to go and get more pizza sauce, but the security guard at the store stopped her. Yu compliments the man who stopped her from buying the sauce, but mood changes when he sees she's a bit sick. Checks her temperature and realizes she has a fever. Tells her to get some rest and then tucks her in for bed. Episode 6. Even after a night of rest, the next morning Ayumi has a fever, causing her to stay home from school. The next morning during Ayumi's class, a student notices her missing, showing a worried face. Today, however, is a day where the helper arrives, revealing the new location of the student. Tells them the ability is collapse, are located in the student dorms. Yu tells Tamori it's normal that a student would be in the dorms, but he tells them it's weird for them not to be at school. Yu thinks about it and realizes his sister is at home, causing him to show a face of concern. Tamori takes notice of this, decides they should take a visit to check in on her. Yu weighs his options and decides not everyone can come, so attempts to take over Takajo. Tamori stops him. She tells him to look at the giraffes outside, and he runs to the window but is surprised by Tamori, kicking him from the back. Yu gives her a thumbs up and guides Yusa and Tamori to his dorm. On their way, Yu tells them his sister is a nuisance sometimes. Yusa tells him to cherish his time with her. Yu rethinks this, decides to do her a good deed, getting her lunch. When he tries to pay, Tamori offers to instead, putting multiple bottles of mushrooms on the table. Yusa then approaches and asks if she can get something, pointing to the most expensive item in the store. They get their goods and arrive at his place, but Yu warns Yusa not to come in too strong. When Yu goes inside, he notices she has guests over. When he enters her room, he is greeted by Ayumi's friends, one of which being the guy who got dumped by Ayumi. Yu notices one of the classmates showing an angry face at him and running away. Mori then walks in and says hi to her, asking if she is dating Yu. Yu denies it and introduces his other friend Yusa in disguise. To their surprise, Ayumi sees through Yusa's disguise instantly and gets a massive nosebleed. He calms down but gets another nosebleed after Yusa takes off the mask. Tamori and Yusa give Ayumi their gifts, bringing her to better spirits in the process. Later that night, Tamori prepares the canned mushrooms, impressing everyone. Yusa receives a call and alerts the group that she needs to leave for work. Ayumi thanks Yusa for coming and leaves Tamori and Yu to do the dishes. The two of them work together to do all of the dishes, while Ayumi watches them work like a couple. She hypes her brother up, hoping to convince Tamori to date her brother. Yu urges his sister to watch some TV instead of bugging them, so she does, turning on Yusa's recent performance. Yu tells her it's time for bed, and he tucks her in like a good big brother. Ayumi tells them that she has been having nightmares recently, and Tamori tries to learn more about it. Yu stops her and tells her it's time to leave, so he then walks her out, chats with Tamori about the potential his sister is the ability user they are looking for. Tamori tells him she is unsure so far to report anything suspicious he notices from his sister. Yu decides to try and figure out more about her dream, and she tells him the dream was a bunch of cracks. She tells him she doesn't know too much about her dream. It included the ground splitting up. Yu tells this to Tamori. She decides to watch over her for a little while to ensure nothing goes wrong. Yu tells them she is still sick, so they can't start their plan yet. He arrives home, and upon checking Ayumi's temperature, she tells him she's okay to go to school. Yu urges her to stay in bed one more day, but she puts up a protest. Next morning, Ayumi is seen sneaking out of their building and going to school. Yu eats lunch with Takayo the next day and asks if he is okay after being pushed out the window. Takayo ensures he's okay, but is interrupted when he learns Tamori needs to see them. Arrive to the student council room. Tamori alerts you that she is currently at school. Ayumi is greeted by the boy she turned down, but she runs away after he continues to pursue her. Her friend steps in and saves her, giving her the chance to run away. After getting to safety, Ayumi is approached by the girl who gave you a mean face. She yells at Ayumi for taking her man and pulls out a razor blade. Ayumi attempts to cool her down, is forced up the stairs, eventually being cornered at the top. Nowhere to run, Ayumi pleads for the girl not to hurt her, causing her emotions to spike. She screams for help, but activates her ability in the process, causing a large portion of the school to collapse. You and the others arrive right in time to the scene, but realize they were too late. You runs into the rubble, thinking she could be trapped within. He searches through the blocks, but is forced to stop when he sees an incoming piece of rubble falling onto his head.